Alright, hello funny junk in YouTube. Today, we're going to be making a second attempt at a hammer. But, it should go a lot better this time because I have a large pickaxe. And this bit is going to become the dog's head hammer, and this bit is going to become the drift. And with the drift, we should actually be able to pull this off, because then I'll have the two pieces necessary to make this happen instead of only one of them. And there's that cutout. Gotta say, already very impressed with these. I used like none of one, basically. 3 really thick cuts. That's pretty dope. Thank you, Pegatech. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the drift part and straighten it out. Then I'm going to come inside and smooth up the working faces, basically. And then we'll start with the actual forging on the hammer. That looks like it's tapered in correct of enough way that I can grind it now. The handle's a bit chunkier than in the drawing, but I think it'll work. Plus, being chunkier, it probably won't absorb as much heat, so that'll be nice. Alright, time to go grind it, and then we'll come back and heat treat it, and then start on the hammer. That is what we have. I think it'll work nicely. About to harden it. And here we've got our first proof that this is going to be a pretty good hammer. Very nice rebound. Alright, let's get started on the hammer. I've gone ahead and marked roughly where we need to start our punch on each side, and then from there we can do the drifting. admittedly obnoxious amount of grinding, I have something that resembles a hammer. So I'm going to get a good oxide covering on the whole thing to kind of even up the way it looks. Touch mark the bottom, and then we'll heat treat it in water. That is good and bouncy, and that finish kind of helped it look a bit better. So that's good. Got the touch mark nicely placed. Good deep hit. Now it just needs to be tempered, have the face polished, and have a handle. Alright. We've got the hammerhead tempered now. I did it 1 hour at 455 degrees. Should make it still plenty hard, but, you know, not like shoot a piece off of it and, you know, blow out your leg or something. And I've got a piece of an old hickory handle from something else, and I'm going to turn this into our hammer handle. So, look, you know, something like that. Probably shorten the handle a little bit, reshape it. I put it on upside down. I even thought I double checked. I guess I did it double check enough. Oof. Okay, that's better. Now we can make the wedge. Guess that's all the wedge we're getting. Oh, feels pretty sturdy though, so that's good. We'll put a metal wedge in it next. It's got a really little piece of what I'm assuming is 1095. We're going to do it in the opposite direction. And I knew I probably should have stopped earlier than that, because it did start cracking a little bit. That's a real shame. Maybe it'll be fine. I'll know once I start using it. But now what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean up the face and I may have forgotten to hit play, but there's the darkened handle. What I'm gonna do now is I'm going to attempt to make a shock collar, basically, out of this piece of leather. I'm going to attempt to stitch it right around there. Now, that will also help kind of cover up the crack a little bit, but if the crack is, you know, going to be a problem, it's not going to help. So, we'll test that in a little bit, but I do still want to see if the shock collar helps at all. This is what I have so far. It's just 3 pieces of string. And if this works like I think it does, I should be able to pull on the strings. And yeah, that looks correct, surprisingly. Well, hopefully I have not just messed it up by doing that. I think I would have needed bigger string. Alright, well, so much for that idea, I guess. I don't have a lot of battery left, but what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to do like I did with my Warhammer, if anybody's seen that series. And I'm going to put this on, wrap it around, and epoxy as I go. I would use hot glue, but I think epoxy would work better. The hot glue I remember being kind of weird, so we'll see how that goes. Okie dokie. I don't think y'all saw much of that process either. My phone died. As you can see, I got the collar on. I just did a leather wrap and got it as tight as I could and epoxied it as I went. I filled the crack that was in the handle with epoxy as well, so that should hold it, I think. We'll know pretty soon whether or not it does. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly clean off some of this epoxy with just some sandpaper, and then we'll oil the handle and go test it. I think it ended up looking pretty nice. I like its overall shape and the way that it fits in the hand. You can definitely do forging, but something I noticed is the head is coming loose. Despite all the friction from the wedges that I put in. Well, the good news is it didn't crack. The handle didn't crack, so I think that the needing another wedge thing is going to be very fixable. I can no longer pull the head off. That's good. I think the shock collar actually helps though, like the vibrations are easy on the hand. Well, that appears to hold. We've got a functioning hammer now, so. I learned how to make a drift. I learned that precision in your drifting process is very, very important, because I did have to grind quite a bit to straighten up this hole. It really came down to, like, I was just fortunate that I had enough material on one side to kind of slim it down and make it look more even. Made a handle that I'm actually pretty proud of, so that's nice. Things to consider about handle making for a hammer, for sure, is, I guess, the more wedges and stuff the better, but also make sure these wedges are not very long, and absolutely do not wedge anything where you haven't pre-cut a hole. So the wooden wedge that I put in, I did the pre-cut down to like 3/4 of the way, I'm pretty sure. But then the metal wedge, I just put in sideways, and it split, and I knew it would split up here, and I'm like, oh, you know, that'll be fine, it'll spread in all directions. But it also split the wood down to here, so that's bad, you don't want that. Might have been fine if I just used a really short wedge like these two, but, you know, I don't know. I might, from now on, just pre-cut all of the wedge slots. Overall, it went pretty well. I was surprised. For my second hammer after my first hammer going so bad, I'm very happy to have this now, and I'll keep watching it. I think it's sturdy enough, but last thing we want is, you know, to be mid-forge and the head goes flying off. But it held up to what we just did, and that's pretty hard on it, so I would think it's fine now. But if I use it to make a gong, I'll know for sure, because that is a lot of hammering. But anyway, I'm getting rambly. That is a finished hammer. It's one side. It's the other side. The touch mark. And the thumbs up. You would like to become a part of the challenge building process. I put a poll up for my Power Hammer tier patrons every other month. And I'll draw some designs and stuff, and then let the patrons pick which design that I'd do. And this time it was a hammer in a Japanese style, so yeah. If y'all want to get in on that, you can hop on over to my Patreon. The link's in the description. And thank you guys very much for watching.